We've got another challenging repair in the shop. We've got a beautiful wingback chair that has some problems. First off, this front leg is completely broken off of the frame, and this one's very loose. And I did have a conversation with a customer, and I typically do not do any type of upholstery work. I did speak to a couple of upholsterers, and their recommendation was to repair and reupholster it. But there's no way the customer is going to find this fabric again. So with the caveat with the customer that I'll do my best not to damage the upholstery and try and get it back the way it was, I'm going to try and disassemble this front frame, repair both these legs, and then get it put back together again. So stick around and I'll show you how we work on this repair. So my first objective is to do as little damage as possible to the upholstery. And what you'll see is a little contraption here. I've got a block of wood across the seat with a cushion on it, and another piece here with a ratchet strap. What I'm doing is I'm trying to compress the springs to take some pressure off of this dust cover. So now I'm just going through and I'm going to slowly but surely remove the staples from this dust cover. But what I want to avoid doing is removing the staples that are actually holding this apron on. So I'm going to go through very gently here and pull out all these staples so I can remove this dust cover and get a good eyes into what's going on with not only this break over here, but also this leg that's very loose. So I'm going to keep going here, very gently pulling out these staples, but at the same time keeping track of what I am disassembling so that when I can put it back together again, I know exactly what I'm doing. So far so good. I haven't pulled out any staples that affect this apron. So I'm going to keep going and we'll give you an update in a few minutes. Well, after some painstaking detail of removing back the dust cover, I was able to get to each of the corners. I didn't touch the apron upholstery, which was my objective. It appears as though this corner block is still in place. However, the leg is loose from this apron rail and from this side rail. And it appears the only way I'm going to be able to get to it to make that repair is to peel back this apron. Now, there appears to be enough material here that I could stretch it back down. And that's on this side. On this other side, it's a completely different story. So again, the material comes down over the apron rail, which is a good thing. It's a little bit thinner on the side here, but the problem is that the corner block that supports the corner of the chair, and then this leg, the dowels are broken, and the corner block is broken off, and the springs and the webbing is actually tied off to that corner block. So I'm not an upholsterer, so I'm not 100% sure as to why they do that. But before I go any further, I need to talk to the customer because I don't think that this repair can be done without peeling back more and more of the upholstery. And I'm even more hesitant to think that I'm going to be able to repair it without removing the webbing, which is something that I do not want to do. It's in place and I could probably do it, but I've never done it before. And it's not something that I really want to tackle on a customer piece. If it was a personal piece, sure, fine. But it's not something I want to tackle on a customer piece. So with these findings, I'm going to give the customer a call and see how she would like to proceed. I just got off the phone with the customer and she loves her chair, and I agree with her. It's a great chair. And I gave her a couple of options. I could return the chair as it is, put the dust cover back on. But if I were to go further and peel this back, there's a pretty high likelihood that she may need to reupholster the chair. And she said, go forward, see what you can do. And if I have to reupholster a chair, I'll reupholster the chair. But what I did promise her is that what I would try and do is make the repair, peel things back without damaging, and see if I can get it all back together again. So this is going to be a challenge for me. Something that I've never tackled, but we're going to give it a shot and see if we can do it. knowing that I have the option that the customer did say that she'd reupholster if she need to. But I'm going to do my best not to have her go down that path. So we're going to proceed. So follow along. We're going to keep going. So here's something that I just found as I go to repair this leg, that I actually think that whoever did the upholstery made a repair using a finish nail, as you can see, through the dowel because it was loose. And I think that's what contributed to the breaking of this leg, is that they added a nail to it, when in reality what they should have done was replace the dowel itself. So unfortunately, this repair could have been completely avoided had the upholsterer who had done the work repaired it correctly, as opposed to putting in a finish nail. So we've got more staples to take out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair this leg so that by the time I'm ready to put everything back together again, the glue on this will be dry. And I've got the pieces. So what I'm going to do is, you see where it's split right here? So I'm going to shoot glue down in there, get a clamp on it. I'm using Type Bond 2 glue here. I want to get glue all the way down to that crack. So we can get this leg repaired properly. And what we'll have to do is probably, this is a good fit. This is a good fit, but we're still got a gap there. So I'll probably shoot some epoxy down in there to fill that gap when we get ready to drill the hole for the dowel. So with the chair apart, all the dowel holes have been drilled out, cleaned out, etc. I then went through and I made up 8 new dowel pins that I'm going to use to glue this chair back together again. Now, what I'm not going to use is nails. I'm not going to use screws. I'm going to use Hyde glue. So I keep my Hyde glue when I'm not using it, or when I'm getting ready to use it, in a bottle of hot water, just to reduce the viscosity of it, because it gets a little chilly in the shop. But what I'm going to do is get some glue on these dowels, get them into the legs, and then pry it all together. And we'll do that side, we'll do this side, and then I've got some clamps ready to squish it all together. So it's going to be a little bit of a drawn out process, but what I'm going to do is kind of put the camera to the side and let you watch as I work, because it can be extremely stressful doing glue ups. So I'm applying a liberal amount of glue to all these dowels, because I want to make sure I get good contact. And these are 7/16 dowels. And the holes are pretty deep. That's why these dowels are as long as they are. Overall, the full length is just under 2 3/4 inches. So I've got these cut at 2 5/8. That way I get a little bit of play if I have to spring the leg a little bit. To say that this was a stress-free glue up would be a lie. It was extremely stressful. I wound up having to loosen up some of the webbing underneath in order to pry the pieces back together again. But what I did do is I have clamps pulling the legs together this way on both sides, but then also pulling together this way. And I kept my ratchet strap on that's holding the springs. So what we're going to do now is take the clamps off and see how well our glue job worked. All right, as you can see, I've got the clamps coming this way as well as that way, and I think we're going to be in good shape. All right, so far so good. And now for our pipe clamp. We've got rock solid on these legs, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to peel back all of the upholstery that we had taken out and hopefully get this all back to the way that it was. So the first step is we know that this was the first layer of upholstery that was underneath with the foam. So we're going to pull that down tight. And now the corners, we need to tuck and wrap like you would a Christmas present. Again, pulling tight as I do this. All right, so now we're going to pull down the corners. And if you remember, this corner was actually torn. So I'm going to try and stretch this material and roll it to see if we can hide that tear for the customer. And I believe the proper way to do this is to tuck down like underneath like this. Now these corners rolled up under so that it kind of tucked up against the wood here. So what I'm going to do to try and hide this tear is drop a couple staples right here. And then in tight. Then maybe get one right across this tear. So there's a tear here as well. Then again, I'm going to tuck this staple. And that seems to be going. So now we're going to work the side. So the same thing that I just did over here, I'm going to do on this side. Again, tucking this corner. So this was rolled like so. So I'm going to maintain that. What I want to do is tuck in any loose threads that were here. And kind of get that in place. And then this was folded and wrapped into this corner. I think what I want to do is get it roughly where I want it, tack the center, and then tack out to the sides. All right. That's pretty much where we want to be. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And we're going to pull this here in tight. Then again, roll this like you're wrapping a Christmas present. All right, I think we're back in business. The underpinnings that I'm going to just cut off and trim. But I think we're in pretty good shape. Actually, I'm going to throw a couple staples here. All right. All right. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Legs are solid. They're not going anywhere. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to release this ratchet strap and hopefully all the springs stay together. It's actually looking pretty good. So let's stand this back up. And I'm glad I did that because what I definitely need to do is get some staples into this ribbing that loosened up as I was peeling things back. So these are very fine staples. And what I'm going to be able to do is get right underneath the ribbing here so that they're not seen. I'm going to get some here. See how loose that is? And that's not right. So I'm getting right up underneath the roping so the staple is hidden. Just getting out some loose threads. And I think we're back in business. I was a little doubtful about this repair, but it actually came out much better than I had expected and much better than I had hoped. So I appreciate you tuning in, watching this video. It was definitely a challenging repair for us here at A.G. Johnson & Son, but I think the customer's going to be happy. At least I hope she's going to be. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments of any of the process or methods that I used to make the repairs, please comment below. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to A.G. Johnson & Son Furniture Restoration.